love you, Buffalo.
Keith, welcome to an actual studio.
Thank you. It's an experience. There's cameras everywhere. And a lemur that I get to name.
End of
Should
the
we do
show.
a vote?
End of the show, I want you to name the lemur.
Okay,
so
I
you
have
got
an
the whole
idea.
show to
Right.
think
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have some say in this, but I'm not sure how much.
Oh, that's your lemur?
I mean, I'm all about community engagement. So put a vote out. They can like
We all
win
have
a
a
mini,
voice. Yeah.
mini lemur or something.
So in studio today, we actually have Keith Nielsen with us today, and we're casting Buffalo, as you know, and we're kind of casting world, and sometimes we ask our guests, do you have an interesting story that plays within our world that maybe has a lesson to it, or is just something that is worth telling?
Of course. I mean, I'm always kind of like, what can I share publicly? Yeah, no, we, as a costume designer, we work with regular, like, principal casting, background casting. And I was actually on a period movie. What year was that? 23, I think, ish. And what's interesting about me is every piece of clothing that's in the room goes through me. If I haven't seen it, I'm like, I can usually point it out because, like, I go to my storage unit, I pull it out. I go to rental houses. I like to have eyes on it because I don't like to spend money unnecessarily. And I was on set, I think it was almost an overnight or a split in the middle of Manhattan, a 1950s movie, and I was like, those aren't my clothes. And then I, like, grabbed my assistant, and I was like, yeah, you don't recognize that either, right? And she was like, who is that? Because if you don't know, once people are cast on the day, they go through hair, makeup, and wardrobe, especially on a period movie.
Yeah.
So you see faces, you see the clothes, you recognize colors and things.
I mean, they've probably gone through a fitting, right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, yeah. Especially on a period movie,
Right.
That's the other thing. So you do have interaction with a human. So you might not remember their name, but you remember their face. And then this person had just snuck onto set in quote-unquote period garb and thought they were going to get away with it. Luckily, they weren't used. But, I mean, the amount of people I was just shopping the other day and people, like, know about the Bills movie, and then it's like there's the proper channel of being like, oh, then I can, like, throw your name in the ring, and there's, like, a whole process to it, not
Well,
just...
and that's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you interact with the public so much, too,
Yeah.
when you're shopping for whatever you need. I mean, you run into probably people who, they find out that you work for the movies.
Yeah.
They want to be in the movies.
Of course.
And there's proper channels to make,
Totally.
make
And
that
honestly,
happen.
when you follow it, it makes me, like, want to help you out more.
Well, yeah, exactly, 100%. I mean, that's how we feel, too,
Yeah.
you know?
So was the person, like, were the clothes just, like, way off?
Yeah, like, I had hired somebody specifically to pull men's 50s suiting because I wanted, like, the true accurate look. And then having been around that for, like, probably, like, 6 weeks at that point, I was very... the big thing with menswear is lapels.
Oh.
And, like, and it was just, like, a modern tweed lapel, like, from, like, Banana Republic. And,
So
like,
this
a
person
chino.
thought they were doing something.
Wow.
And
Yeah, but also I don't even know how that works technically. Like, if that person did end up on camera, like, is that footage like no longer usable? Like, there's
It's
a
a
whole
big
thing.
question, right?
Yeah.
You know?
When you
It's-
called this person out, did you say, "Hey, Mr.
Well-
Banana Republic"?
Oh, I think it's cute that you think I called them out. I notified certain people that called that individual, and they were
Security.
politely, they were politely removed.
Oh, my God.
That's amazing.
Well,
That's amazing.
I find it really interesting too, like that people have to realize that like we are experts in our fields too,
And it's a business.
and it is a business.
Like,
So-
I always point out, it's show business. Because
Yes.
even, like, with what I do, everyone thinks I just go shopping. And it's like, I've been spending
No.
the past 24 hours doing budgets and breakdowns and paperwork.
yeah. So
not-
there's a process to
Yeah.
all this, and then like how you just said, Keith, like especially when you're doing period pieces or something that like needs that eye, you know, fashion.
Yeah.
Like, so if someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, you know exactly what kind of wool it should be.
Yeah, and that's always a conversation too, because sometimes in fittings people do chime in. I'm always welcome for chiming in on, like, comfort and safety, especially when it
Yes.
comes to, like, shoes and things. But if it comes to, like, a specific period, like, we're the experts.
Yeah, for sure.
Or not even that, like, I have so many conversations in meetings of like, maybe we don't want to do a period appropriate thing. Maybe we want to stylize it like a Bridgerton or something. Like there's so many other elements that like we're not in tune to, which I've actually taken that own advice personally when I watch other things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, well, that's not period appropriate casting or that's not period appropriate clothing. But it's like, I wasn't in those meetings.
Yeah, you don't know
So
what
maybe
the
they were
style
asked to do that. And like that was the intention of the project.
Have you been studying Bill's tailgaters?
I am going to bar Bill after this, and I'm
Nice.
scoping people.
It's going to be
Nice.
worse than you think. As someone who knows fashion, as I just learned, how does it feel to be casting an NFL clothes movie where it's just everyone wearing Bill's stuff?
It's interesting. So the interesting thing between like period and contemporary is there's still intention in like the design choices, but with contemporary it's a little bit more nuanced, and you have to find intention in like the details more. So it's like there's a couple different things. So it's like I'm in the Christmas movie world. That's a genre to kind of like go on. The location. I did a shot a movie in Iceland, so it's like gathering things from the spaces you're in.
Yeah.
Also, like it depends. Like if this was like an A24 movie, I'd be approaching it completely differently. But the thing I love about Christmas movies and also Hallmark is it's like escapism. So I like to design wise like lean into that and like give people that like idealistic escape. But
That's
also
pretty cool.
I am excited to like incorporate some more kind of like the style of what's here to make it. I don't want people locally to watch this movie and be like, we don't wear that.
Well, are you going to get
Right.
like the Carhartt onesie?
That's a
I don't know
Buffalo
about-
thing. That's a Buffalo thing.
Zoobies.
Who wears
the
that?
Zoobies.
The two
Yeah.
Are they Zoobies or Zubaz?
Zubaz.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Zubaz.
I've done my
Zubaz,
research.
yes.
They have
Some
like the
Buffalo
overalls. They have onesies. Because I mean, you have
Well-
a lot of different factors in this, right?
Yes.
So you're doing your kind of contemporary mixed with Christmas movie, mixed
Sports.
with Buffalo, mixed with sports,
Yeah.
Right.
mixed with winter.
Yeah, and I've seen the pictures of your fans sitting in the stands and like 4 feet of snow.
A lot of them sometimes are bare-chested.
Yeah.
Right.
Which makes your job easier.
just wearing maybe Nate Burleson's coat.
I was gonna say
Yeah, there you
the
go.
guy that wore Nate Burleson.
Actually, we should try to find him.
That'd be awesome. If
We
he's
should-
watching,
we should try to
if
find
he's
him.
watching, we should get somebody tag this guy. Tag him.
The host, he gave his coat up to a Bills fan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was part of a wager. He bet his coat.
Yeah.
Great though.
Yeah.
Oh my
Sure.
God. No, that's funny. We should
Absolutely.
That's a particular one.
Find the coat.
So when you do the wardrobe, though, is it going to be like the best version of what Buffalo tailgaters look like, or is there going to be someone looking like a rat in the back? With, like, just
How do you identify a rat?
oh, well, you know when you see them. They're out there for sure. Just like the most disheveled person, because that's part of the tailgate experience.
Like maybe
too.
somebody who might have fallen into the creek walking to the stadium.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Trying
Too
they're
drunk
actively
trying
wet.
to get to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, they're
I know
still-
exactly-
All I'll say is I'm in the depths of prep right now. So we'll see where we end up.
Well,
Maybe
well,
you've influenced
Yeah,
Keith right now.
yeah. You know, there's going to be some scene. There's going to be some guy huddled up in the corner, all soaking wet.
And you're going to be like, I influenced.
well, Harry and I, yes. Yeah.
I do love those Easter eggs in movies. I try to throw some in.
Well,
The very
I'm hoping for it
Buffalo
now.
thing. Yeah.
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 So Keith, we have an audience here that might not know what a costume designer is and what they do. Can you kind of jump into that a little bit?
It's complicated. So basically, I'm responsible for every garment that's on screen. And with that goes, I'm responsible for the team. I'm the department head, the budget, making sure we have all like the script notes and everything matches like that, the continuity. It all essentially falls on me. I do not do it alone, thank God. But as the department head, everything goes through me. And that's important because and like especially like if we're filming this right now, I'm thinking about like what everybody's wearing or
Yeah.
like what color the wall is, or I'm always texting Daniel, our production designer. I'm like, what color is that couch? Can we throw a blanket behind the person because they match the couch? Little things like that. That really, because the thing is, there's this old saying that good costume design is invisible, and that's actually a good point because you'll notice if something's off.
Yeah.
If I get called out for my first Christmas movie all the time because we hemmed a pair of pants too short. If they were like a centimeter longer, but like they're not wrong, it is short, but like you would ignore it if it was the right length. You're like, oh, he's in a tuxedo, whatever.
Wow.
That's an interesting point because it's almost, I mean, we're the same exact way because the end of our visions end up on screen,
Yeah.
which is open for people to comment. and us to learn. So that is interesting that you had like right off the bat a lesson
Yeah.
from the public.
Oh yeah, I read a lot. I've sort of slowed down a little bit too, because unfortunately, there's a lot of negative comments out there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to personally, I love what I do, but I'm trying to like relax a little bit more with it. But back to your question, as far as a costume designer, I'm responsible for basically bringing the network's vision, the director's vision to life. Typically in my early meetings, I'm usually a big listener. I'm listening to kind of like, you're the director, this is what you're thinking. You're the producer, this is what you're thinking, and getting all of those like little sponges of information. And then I focus on then, okay, what do I think? And I try to find that common thread. Because you're never going to make everyone like happy, but I'm trying to find a little bit of, and one of the questions I always ask in my meetings is like, is there one thing like you really want to see here? And it could be like, I did a movie in Mystic, Connecticut, very nautical. They just wanted to see a lot of blues. Love an abstract note like that, because I can take that in a lot of different ways. I get it, we're by the water. We want like nautical stripes. Because sometimes when you get so specific, and it depends on the job, if you get specific and you want a certain thing, like if you're on the Gilded Age, you can have somebody just whip that right up. But like that's not like reality.
Yeah.
And even though people think like, oh, it's just jeans and sweaters, it's like there's an intention of like that fit of jean. For example, we wear darker wash jeans typically, and visually they read more winter than they do like a summer light wash jean.
Wow. Wow. I never knew that.
But what was interesting to flip, I did a movie that was partial black and white, so I had to dress people in summer jeans because it read better in black and white.
And white.
Wow.
So we were doing a lot of like color tests, because if you go back and look at like the Addams Family and the Munsters, they had like crazy colorful makeup.
Isn't it like a lot of
red.
pinks mix?
Yeah,
They read better.
and it just reads complete. Or like old Hollywood stars, they would be like orange because like the black and white.
That makes me think of a certain person.
No,
we're
we're not
not
bring that up.
But this
So-
was literally
so-
like different. It was like almost like a. Well, I don't want to say that because people won't know that reference, but false color for video.
Yeah, you're tricking the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like the way that black and white read different colors, it wouldn't even look natural at all. But on the camera, it would like be darker here or lighter there, but it had no real basis in the actual colors.
It's like an interesting like equation.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I like to play, especially in my Christmas movies, I like to do a lot of like color equations, and like I'm a traditionally trained artist too, so it's good that I really know like the basis of like color and texture.
It's just like color theory.
Yeah, and like
the science of
complementary,
it,
and then
yeah.
sometimes like playing around and things. Like my signature has become kind of like monochromatic looks with like matching gloves, so like the line continues.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm also big into tailoring, both as a designer but also in life, because also that's like a great thing. Being in the world of like fast fashion and stuff, like you can get such longevity out of like things that like fit you well, and like support your local tailor.
No, but that's good.
We had the unique opportunity, us three, to work on the film Marshall, which was the wardrobe designer on that was
Ruth Carter.
Oscar winning. You got to put that in there. Oscar
Yeah,
winning,
incredible.
Ruth Carter, and she won that Oscar for Black Panther. Which again, when you look at that, that was a film that had culture, that was fashion, that had color schemes and all that stuff.
She got to create a whole world,
Oh yeah.
Right,
which is like so rare.
Which was Bridgeport, Connecticut, in Buffalo.
Bridgeport, Connecticut.
That's where the movie took place.
It
Marshall
did?
took place in Bridgeport,
Oh,
Connecticut.
but you
used
shot it
Buffalo.
here.
Shot it here.
Oh,
Absolutely,
okay, I got
absolutely.
you.
But have you been challenged like to that extent where you can create your own? And I mean, to win an Oscar for that, I mean, that's obviously the highest award. Like, have you tackled any projects that was like that difficult to come up with your own schemes for that?
I could only wish, but honestly, and something like that, it's almost more freeing, because when you have that, like on like Black Panther, it's like they have like access to everything. Like I know she did a lot of like laser cut things and like 3D printed things, and you have people that can just build whatever you want, so you can let your mind just go insane.
Right.
Whereas like sometimes on like, I mean,
Yeah, you're
And it-
limited by budget.
Yeah.
but it's, for example, I just watched a Kate Blanchett interview where she was going through like costumes and things, and she worked with Sandy Powell, who's also an Oscar winner, on 2 different movies. It's Disney's Cinderella, which I'm sure she had a bajillion dollars.
Yeah.
And then they also did Carol together, where I know what the number was, and it was insanely low.
Wow.
But even though Sandy is incredibly talented, like people knowing that designer's work and knowing Kate Blanchett in both of those movies, they're still expecting the same quality.
Oh yeah.
They don't know that behind the scenes you have $3.50.
Right. Wow.
But back to answer your question, one can only dream of like a Black Panther or a Cinderella or a Wicked, which Paul just won for that,
Yeah.
rightfully so, because it's like I can't imagine. That's the dream. Is like not even just what I do, like with production design, like we can just build a set.
Yeah.
Like
the
that's
blank check to
That's so rare now.
do that thing.
Or like you build a set, not a series of sets.
Well, I was gonna say I just want to jump in this real quick because with Marshall, like that was kind of our first film out the gate with casting. So
Oh, really?
I was interviewed to get hired as an extras casting director.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have any interests before that. I was just kind of fresh out of college. I still wanted. I directed a low budget film, and I was still kind of trying to find my niche. And I'd met Harry and Peter the summer before, who'd done extras casting for a smaller film from John Abrahams.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed, I got the role, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And so the one UPM grabbed me, brought me into the room with Ruth, sat me down and went, teach him everything he needs to know. And Ruth was like, I got you.
Amazing.
So like I was taught.
Well, that's a good UPM because he knows what costume design.
Exactly. But I was taught by Ruthie and by a costume designer on how to kind of just extras casting. Like
Yeah.
How, and Harry always brings up your saying about like how we are the art director of people. And so my first lesson was I'm going to absorb everything that Ruth says and what she wants and what she needs.
Right.
And I am going to just
That's
make
a
sure.
hell of a baseline to start with.
Exactly, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I learned from that to be like, okay, if I can satisfy her vision, this movie can be very smooth,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to do it. And
especially when somebody's very upfront and like, I'm assuming that's like XYZ. This
oh
is
yeah,
what I'm
this
looking
yeah.
for.
just take care of this, this, and this, and this, and we're good.
Yeah.
And I mean, she had such an amazing relationship with Reggie Hunlin, who
Mm-hmm.
was directing too, that like Reggie's go-to was if Ruthie's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So I went, okay, if you're saying that, I'm going to do the same exact thing. And I was talking to Cassie, and she was talking about like, oh, I'm working with Keith. And I'm like, well, listen, Cassie, I learned this from Ruth. If Keith's happy, we're all happy.
I guess I want to talk a little bit about your career, right? So oftentimes, especially in our market of Buffalo and in the surrounding areas, we're educating people. We're educating them a lot just on the film industry, not only just as actors or crew or anything of that sort, but so people kind of tune in because they want to learn.
Yeah. The different aspects.
Right. But so for yourself, you bring something unique to the table. How did you get started? Like, did you go to college for this? Like, how did you get into the fashion industry and ultimately wardrobe design?
So I'm the ultimate person of never say never, because I said I'd never live in New York City, I'd never drive in New York City, and I said I would never be a costume designer, and I've either done all that and I'm
There you
actively the only thing I've professionally done is be a costume designer. So at this point, I'm kind of like, what the hell else am I going to do? So I actually have a business degree, but from an art school that focused on both sides of the brain, like your right creative side and your left analytical. And we basically took classes in finance as well as like artistic, like I know the full Adobe suite, like video editing, all that stuff, which I enjoy. Like I said, I'm like a traditionally trained artist, so I like having my hands in like creative things, but I also have like a natural business sense. I grew up, my mother had a hair salon for like 15 years, so I grew up around like business operations. So in school, when you go to film school, people like want to be a director or like cinematographer. They want like this technical stuff. So once they got their prerequisite of like their costume course or their production design course, it was opened up to like an extracurricular thing for people like me. So it was something just like fun to do. And funnily enough, I was always the fashion one and my friend Hannah was always the costume one, because they are like different mindsets. And so I just did it for fun. Graduated school, didn't have a job, but everyone was like, you're going to do great. My money's on you. And I was like, well, the phone's not ringing. So I got a call and they were like, can you go be like a costume intern in New York, like ASAP? And I like did the old thing, like slept on a pull-out couch, commuted an hour each way, worked the 14 plus hours a day. And that's where I learned everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tell people like, it's like, I don't care how old you are if you're doing a career change, like be a production assistant. Like that is where you learn so much. I learned just so much general organization of like how to organize a rack by like when people bring in shopping and how you like hang it. and how you hang it is how you get dressed in the morning. So if you have like undergarments, pants, t-shirts, if you put something over the t-shirt, and just the general organization of it. And then I was kind of back and forth between the city and home in Connecticut, and then I kind of just was getting more calls and stuff and decided I was like, oh, move to the city and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then it snowballs. Like, Pete, your name gets around, and that's the cool thing I like about this business. It is so much word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like, just
Big
like,
time.
oh, I know this person. Oh, I'm looking for, and like, if I'm grateful I kind of got in, I feel like a little bit in the old school, because I'm like, oh, so-and-so recommended you, you're in. Like, I don't know, if I'm more about the vibe check, and if you get along with that person, like, and you can do the technical job things. Like, I just hired a supervisor the other day for this job. And I was like, oh, you have 44 credits. You can clearly do the job.
Yes.
Right.
And I was like, and we have mutual people. I was like, how's your vibe? Because we spend so many hours together.
Yes.
But basically, I was lucky to start on a show called Mozart in the Jungle as
Oh,
an
wow.
intern
Oh, my
in
God.
season 2. And then I learned a lot, and I just like hustled. I was like, everything they gave me to do, I was like, I'm gonna be the best ever. They were like, go and do all these returns. I'm gonna be the best returner ever. And then guess what happened? I got back and I was like, I did that so fast. And they're like, here's more.
Right. How it works.
And then I got invited back the following season as like a full-time actual production assistant. And then the following season, they actually helped get me into the union as a costume coordinator, which is the person that's in the office tracking all of the budget. Because something that we do in costumes is I can't just like show you one option and be like, I nailed it. I stole that from somebody else, actually. You have to be prepared. Also, like, different sizes, different cuts of things. When I've done vintage period movies, vintage tags do not match modern sizes at all. So you have to be prepared for anything and everything. Especially, like, sometimes I don't get people till the day of.
Yep.
So you have to be prepared for anything. So I was a costume coordinator, and then I got my first call for my first Christmas movie, not Hallmark, and just seized the day. And ever since then, I kind of was just like, this is my thing, and that's like what I'm gonna do. The one thing I've never done, I've done every role. I've been a shopper, which is kind of like an assistant costume designer, but I would die to like assist somebody like Ruth or Sandy because their scale of projects, they have so many assistants that focus on specific things, and just see how that massive thing breaks down in a department.
Wow.
You know, we actually, myself and Peter, we're both professors who've worked at local colleges too, and kind of tried to teach, you know, film students or actors how to get into the business, but not necessarily as like a director or a producer or a writer.
Right? Yeah, we need just regular.
Exactly.
We need crew.
There is
too.
crew that
Like,
exists, and I had one course that literally was called Futures in Film, and I think a lot of them thought would be like, oh, how do I'm going to meet? And I said, no. I'm bringing in a costumer. I'm bringing in makeup. I'm bringing in an editor. I'm bringing in G&E, because realistically, these are the jobs that are going to keep you rolling in this film world. But just like you said, we always push, like, go be a production assistant, get thrown to the wolves, learn it all, and absorb as much as you can, and work your way up the ladder by just being good at what you do.
and I always say, like, be curious. Like,
Yes.
I'm never mad at questions.
Ask,
Like,
always ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather you ask than like do something wrong. Like, please ask me.
And don't be afraid. If you do something wrong, say it right away.
Totally.
Because everybody else has that experience that can help put you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Whatever that
I've never,
mistake
like,
is.
as a leader, I remember also going to business school. I remember a whole course focusing on the difference between being a good manager and being a good leader.
Yeah.
And they're two completely different things. And I've always in my life wanted to be like a good leader. I can do the technical management side of like labor budgets and stuff, and like that's like management to me, and like getting people in position. But like I want people to like be happy to show up to work. And I'm like, ugh, or like I'm just the PA. Like, you're a part of the team. Like, I can't do without my PA Veronica. Like, she's the one that goes and like does exchanges for us, does returns, makes sure that like we come in on budget.
Yeah, and
like-
everyone plays in that
Yeah.
that role, and like you mentioned, I think it was a great way of saying it, the vibe check.
Love the vibe.
It is such a smart way to approach it, because It is like you will get the next job depending on how your vibe was.
Yeah, and it's
within
interesting,
a
like
room.
as a department head, like then I get to choose my team.
Yes.
So then it's kind of like ideally, like I'm gonna have a job after this. Like it's, and I'm actually really excited to be in Buffalo too, because in a weird way, it pushed me out of my box to like network more. Because I love the team I work with like consistently a lot, but it's nice to just like expand that again.
Yeah. I have a weird question, right?
No
It's-
question.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
So, and I'm so intrigued. I'm a trained actor, but I'm so intrigued about your job because I'm a big fashion guy, right? Like anybody sees me out, usually in public, I have a lot of suits and stuff like that. So I'm really into fashion. Do you feel any pressure as a costume designer to like have a good fashion sense for yourself? Like, are you self-conscious about like how you dress or anything because you do it for a living?
Not at all.
No?
And someone a long time, because I was talking along those lines about something, and she's like, none of that matters. It matters what's in here.
Oh wow.
And I thought she was gonna point to what's up here, but she's right. Like it comes from like the heart, and I like adore what I do, and I know the output I can give, and it's just like, it's like a heart, it's a love vibe.
No, I'm saying like, do you feel any pressure to be like, I can't wear those pants?
No, not
Like-
at all. Actually, honestly, some of the people I like admire the most in this business, which are people like Patricia Field and Jenny Beavan, like they'll show up like you wouldn't even know that they know like every celebrity in the business.
Wow, yeah.
Like I love that Jenny Beavan went and got her Oscar like in a leather jacket. I was like badass. Like that's rad. I mean, I'm just a proponent of like there's a new show. There used to be a show called What Not to Wear. They just rebooted it and it's called Wear Whatever the F You Want. I'm kind of into that.
Smart.
Like if you're good with it, I'm also more personally like related to like function. Like I'm like I gotta roll up at 4 a.m. and like drive an hour to set and dress 300 background that I've never met.
Like, yeah, you're like,
I need
yeah.
pockets. I need.
sneakers. Like I always wear boots, and I always talk, like when you see me in sneakers, you know, like stuff's going down. Like, I'm around.
Now, do you also have like as a costume designer? Tell me about like the amount of clothes. You mentioned warehouses. You said you have warehouses of clothes.
I don't, but I have access to. I have my own storage, which I've actually really. A lot of old school costume designers would always be prepared for like anything. They would have hospital stock, uniform stock, period uniform stock, tuxedo stock. When I say stock, I mean, for example, like I own, which we used on Newport. I own tuxedos, modern and period, in full size runs. And what I mean by full size runs is I can get. With casting, it's like I could get 7 people that walk in the room that are all the same size.
Yeah.
I need to be ready for that. Or I can get 7 people that are various tiny, various large. We have to be prepared for all of that.
And it depends on what period you're
Totally.
dressing for.
So you could basically outfit a small village, is what you're
In
saying.
tuxedos, yes. Only time.
Awesome.
So I'm really lucky. I have connections to another legendary costume designer, Ann Roth, who has an amazing warehouse of. Basically, it's really cool when you pull there because it's basically her career in one place, and I think she just turned 90, and it's cool. You can look at all the tags because she does has things built for certain actors, and I think that character also conveys when I use it. I love vintage clothing too because I always feel like we're continuing the
story.
clothing, of what that is. And that also can impact the character and the actor that's playing that.
Yeah.
So I like to do secondhand and vintage when it makes sense. And because we really help inform the character. I've gotten scripts where I was like, I have no idea who this person is. But then we get casting and you're like, okay, this is their look. Then you talk to the actor and sometimes I'll be like, how are you going to play this person? And then they'll be like, oh, like this, I think she's quirky, I think she's funny, she's fun. And then it's that helps me because I'm kind of I want to convey a fun personality through what you're wearing. And also age, that's important. I think about, there was that movie with Meryl Streep where she was playing an old aged rock star where the clothes were intentional because it's she was clearly wearing things that were too young for her. But that was important for that character development.
We had a costume warehouse here in Buffalo that
I
unfortunately
heard it burned down.
Yeah.
lost to a blaze, but it would have been something I think you would have been interested in seeing because
Yeah.
they had a very large stock of
It was across the street.
lots of
Yeah.
things.
Oh, wow.
It was right here.
I go to a place it's in Roscoe, New York, actually, and I believe it's an old feed barn that she just keeps like adding and adding and adding, and it's the most organized thing I've ever seen.
In Roscoe, New York?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And it's just, last time I was there, she was building 7,000 square feet just for shoes.
Oh my God.
So it's organized by period, by color, by size. It's just insane amounts of organization, but that's amazing for me.
How fun is that to go there though? And like,
It's cool to just see the stuff, and like I love craftsmanship. I always encourage people, like, if you ever have like an old jacket, like I say, rip the lining, because it is a form of architecture. And like tailoring is so important because like the way things are cut, like with designers that are like, oh, they cut a suit really well. It's because they know how to like cut the fabric, the way it's woven, and just like the tailoring and like the inner structure of it's so important.
What does a place like that smell like?
Nothing like crazy. I mean, it smells like old, essentially, like not rotting clothes.
I'm thinking too, like, do
It
you have
also
to,
depends
like,
on
what
where
about
they're located.
mothballs? Like, don't you have
Well,
to
so
keep...
for example,
Preserve them, right?
Yeah.
the place
Preserve
in
'em.
Roscoe,
like-
I had pulled for the Whitney Houston movie and sent stuff because they shot in Boston, and Whitney wore a lot of furs. So the assistant designer, I was just like the shopper. We were like, "Oh, do you have like a fur room?" And she was like, "I don't keep furs because I'm right by a river, and basically there's like a lot of like moths."
She
and,
didn't
like,
have, like, a giant cedar closet.
I don't know. I guess she just like knows
Under
that
the
it's
floor.
Right.
Yeah.
I would think like, you know, a portion of your job, you know, and everyone think as a costume designer, you shop a lot,
Yeah.
right? So
We do.
tell me, what's your favorite genre of film to like cast? I mean, especially to shop for and all that stuff. Like, what would it be something modern, period piece?
I mean, period's awesome if you have like, I did a movie at the Biltmore called Biltmore Christmas, and I was able to like rent some things. I was able to buy some vintage. I never, when I do period, want it to look like I walked into the previous rental house across the street and just went to the 1940s aisle and just
Right.
got that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's not costume design to me. Like, costume design is doing what's like best for the character, and like that includes like, oh, it came from a rental house. In Biltmore, I brought in a hat because it matched, the fur on the hat matched the jacket, but the color of the hat matched the suit, and I like brought it in from London. So it's just like insane stuff that like designers do because it's like the right thing for like the vibe.
well, what did you mention too about building the story too? Because I mean, if you're saying, oh, a period piece takes in place in the 1940s, there was a world before the 1940s
Oh, right, yeah.
that you're pulling from, right?
Which is way more real. Like,
yeah.
and especially a great analogy is today in fast fashion when there's new clothes every week. It's not like we're all going and completely redoing our closet. Like, I still have stuff from high school like 20 years ago.
Exactly. And my favorite hat. My favorite,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and that's
Like,
character stuff.
my father's gloves that
So
I
yeah,
showed
like when I did
yeah.
1947, 48, and sometimes like in my 50s movie, for example, she had a mother that was very traditional. So an interesting thing that I did was seamless stockings didn't come in until like 1952, I think. But I kept her in seam stockings, which were more 1940s because it was like a character decision. Did we ever see those? Maybe in a shot, but I knew they were there, and they helped her influence the character. Like, it's something we discussed together in the fitting. And she was like, oh yeah, she's very traditional. She's very stern. She doesn't like the changing world. And I was like, great.
I just love how deep like story and character run
Oh,
every
yeah.
single department. But then there's some times where I feel like you just have to. You can't think about it, and it's just what you got.
Well,
at
so
the
when
time,
you, that's
right?
the thing is it what's in front of me? We just got to go, or what I do in my process. I think as creatives, we make so many conscious decisions, but equally subconscious decisions.
Yeah.
So I try to drill the information of the script and who these people are in my head so much. And like, for example, on the last movie, shocker, there's a love interest, and there's two actors were standing in front of me, and I was like, dang. And she's like, what? And they were in the opposite colors of each other. She was in cream with black trim, and he was like, I think it was like the inverse of it. And it was like a cool like color connection
Yeah.
Wow.
that you can see as it progresses. Because we have a thing called a story arc, and a lot of that relates to like color or fit. Maybe somebody's like very uninspired, more sloppy. Like the kind of Devil Wears Prada makeover movie. There's an arc there of like where you start.
Did you end up
get.
flopping colors like later into the?
Yeah,
story?
but I also like realized I already did it. So I do usually
That's very
one
cool.
big fitting. Like if you have like 17 costume changes, I try to do as much of that up front as possible because then I can focus on the details, and also I can lay it out in a way of like, okay, this is the development and like where we're going.
I think what's really cool about all that stuff you just said was like you had mentioned something about, you know, the decade difference. And that involves a lot of research.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're doing research constantly on that and then figuring out patterns. And I think that the average person that watches movies, they don't understand the work that goes into this.
No, and a lot of it's on your own time too, and that's where like the heart and the passion comes
I get
from.
paid to do.
No, on a weekend like me looking at a 1940s fashion book, but like we do it because we love it, and
So,
like, our name is on it. And we want it to be awesome.
Would you consider yourself a bit of a history buff then?
I do like history a lot. Like when I did the 1940s movie, one of my biggest references, like I call them Pearl Harbor dresses. They're just like 1940 day dresses,
Yeah.
but like that's kind of I think Pearl Harbor the movie was probably one of my earlier exposures to 1940s. And as costume designers, I always say like we kind of have all of the 20th century in our head because like each decade is just so different. But then when you get a specific script, you kind of dive deeper. So it's good to have just like a general base and interest in all of that.
Well, I mean, with now knowing, I mean, how creative each department can be and how like how much we love things can influence the deepness of how we think and how we create and how we costume. I mean, this goes to any type of talent that's walking into this.
Yeah.
Like, so either you be background, day players, principals, like there has been so much already thought of before you're even cast into a role. So, I mean, what is some set etiquette that we can talk to our audience about that like is focused on your department that they should help play within your world and make things easier?
Yeah, so there's things like we always send notes to our background, which I'm preaching to the choir here, but for the audience. And there's certain things on there like we can't always use certain logos and things, so it's really helpful. It's more distracting when we have to cover it with like a piece of gaff tape.
What Keith and I are wearing right now
Yeah,
is probably a no.
well, and a future film coming up.
We had clearances.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of clearance, a lot of money exchange.
There's a lot of things that work there. So yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to our prop master about like certain logos on like different technology, and like it's more distracting when you have to cover it.
Yeah.
So it's better when you listen. Or for example, like in Christmas movies, I don't usually like sneakers, except in this situation when it's like a sports movie.
Yeah.
I like more kind of. I always say with a Christmas movie, I think of it like a greeting card, and it's a little illustration inside, and it's idealistic.
It's cute.
So that's like my reference. But I always say, please read the notes. We want you to look good just as much as you want to look good, and you should want to look good. And honestly, I tell people, like, if you bring great stuff and we can help supplement that, because like we have a great stock, like I'm gonna ask for you to be put next to principals. So like you're really gonna be seen because you're gonna help emphasize my work too.
Yes.
And I'm like gonna want to feature like another great look, even though like you might not be speaking.
Yeah. You want to collaborate.
That is
with
so
them as
cool.
much as-
I'm sure that there's a lot of background that don't understand that. That like
Yeah.
you know they just come and you know, hey, we're gonna pull you right next to the to the person.
And usually, like, me and my team are involved in that because when you look at the frame, I was always taught it's like a painting. So, like, how does the color and where does the eye draw you? So, it's like if I have a red coat on a lead, I don't necessarily want a red coat over there because it's going to pull your eye.
Wow.
And that has nothing to do with, like, speaking or music or anything. So, actually, it's funny. I did a movie in the fall that wasn't Christmas, and they asked, I keep my background palette usually very neutral. Obviously, in something like this, like, blue and red are going to be primary. And they asked they were like, we need like a hot pink jacket. And I was like, please no. Because then the audience is going to be like, what's that hot pink jacket over there? Not what you're saying, and that's helping the story. So I'm always trying to support the story.
Is it going to get confusing on a Bills film when everyone shows up wearing their own Bills clothes? Are you going to know what was yours and what you put on people? Or is it going to be just...
There's a whole
No
behind-the-scenes
person's
system of how we know.
Oh, I love it.
Oh.
Everything gets tagged and documented and photographed. There's also a whole system of there's lists and vouchers of when we give people things, so they make sure that we get them back at the end of the day.
Are
You
you
know,
concerned with
you got to
theft?
do that because especially in this town, like we love a good Bills shirt. Like we'll walk off. Hey, look, I'm keeping it. I'm gonna keep it.
Well,
That
that
will
goes
happen.
back into set etiquette too. Is
Yeah.
like when you are either background or principals or talent in general, and you're working with the costume department, like notes for when they do get chosen. Like make sure they return items. Make sure.
Yeah, for sure.
yours-
And then honestly, like when you do that stuff, if you're like, hey, can I buy this when you're done? Like, I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, here's my number. I mean, I've had principal actors walk away with things. And they're like, oh, so-and-so said it's fine. I was like, who's so-and-so?
Right.
I was like, because that's a $500 jacket.
Stops at me.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another thing, too, is like all different departments have asset levels of like things that are of certain value. And it's like, for example, there's like the Sex and the City reboot. A friend of mine worked on that, and they had like one-of-a-kind couture from Italy. Like, that is like important things. It's like if it's damaged and things and who's handling it. And when I worked with the Radio City Rockettes, there was a whole thing of who could and could not handle the Rockettes costumes that have nothing. And we just used their existing costumes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like my design thing, but things my team had to factor in.
Another thing too, I think for Sedicate, for a lot of talent as well, is their sizing, how important that goes into.
Oh yeah. So in our pre-pro before this, we were talking. I just be honest. If you say like, hey, like I have no idea, me and my team can help guide you. Like, and like we've FaceTime people like going through closets and looking at size tags. And honestly, like at the end of the day, which like I know you guys request on the casting side, like pictures are so helpful.
Yes.
Like I'm a visual thinker at the end of the day. I can usually size somebody up pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes it's hard. I mean, it's just like when we've talked about headshots in the past, like you might have headshots
from
15 years ago.
Right. It's
Like
You might
girl,
send a sizing.
The waist is not that little.
Yeah, that sizing might change.
How often do you have people that are just wrong? They just say their size, and you're like, "That's not your size," and they're like, "Yeah, it is," and then you're like, "No, it's
I
not."
mean,
Do you have to measure it
often
now?
enough.
Yeah, I mean, is that like
But-
every day?
But I also, speaking of tailoring, it's like whatever your size is, if you're just honest with me, like, I hate my arms, I hate this, I hate that, like, the amount of visual tricks you can do with, like, where things cut the body,
Yeah.
like, I can make you look like $1 million.
Wow.
All right.
Like, I've worked with a petite actress who's 5'1" and has a long torso, so I have to do more high-waisted things to cut the line and, like, cut her torso to make it visually look shorter.
So I think what's interesting that talent should take away from this is that they should be very, very open about themselves,
Yeah.
but also keep in mind that there are limits.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it because I know that there will be someone who will walk in and be like, "This is I can only touch this type of leather." You know what I mean? Like.
So I'm imagining the opposite, where there's people that have it in their mind, like, I'm showing up wearing this shirt because I love this Bill's shirt. It's my lucky shirt.
Yeah.
I want to be on screen. And then would you just prefer people just not wear Bill's stuff that day so you can get them in the right stuff? And
It depends on what the scene is. I mean, I know like we're gonna have scenes where it's like we need extras in actual Bill's things, but sometimes it is hard when that person walks in and you're kind of like, well, that's not the scene. Like it's a part of this movie, but that's not the scene.
You have to have like a clean slated mind, but also be open to collaboration. And be
Yeah,
honest.
because like you were saying, like there's so many other conversations that have like led up to this point.
and keeping that in mind, I think, is a fantastic thing for a lot of talent. Is like,
Yeah,
you're walking into the 11th hour,
right.
of it
The
all.
ship has left the
and
dock.
so you need to be open to like playing into that world. but
Yeah,
then also,
totally.
like if it's something personal, like be honest with.
Even me too. It's like I love to have a vision and a story arc, but a piece of me always has to stay flexible because
Yes.
stuff changes. The amount of times they're like,
That's our world,
"Oh, we
right?
missed it. Like this person doesn't have a line, but they should be here because we should recognize their face." And it's like I gotta whip something out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Do you ever fall in love with an outfit and you want to see it so bad, but it just isn't where it's supposed to be, and it won't make the screen time?
Yeah,
you
there's
want
the
there?
artistic thing of killing your baby.
Yeah.
yeah.
I killed my baby on a job. I was offered a job that I wanted from when I was 12, and I turned it down.
Okay.
But I'm glad I turned it down because in that time frame, I did like 2 or 3 other like design credits and like that like helped me up at that time.
Sometimes there's like an amazing shot, and you like the director wants that shot, or the person who shot it wants that shot, but it just doesn't fit.
This is a great point because sometimes I get notes and I'm just like, it like makes you think. But then like I've learned that I'm really lucky to work with like a lot of people consistently. So you get to know each other and like you get to trust each other. And I was like, I might not understand it in the moment, but I just know 9 times out of 10, I like see it in the edit and I'm like, I get it now. Like they couldn't communicate it to me, but I get it now when I see it.
I mean,
so
there
like,
was.
follow that.
It's also cool because like on the last one we were doing too, I remember I got a phone call from Cassie and she was talking about like we found this one background actor,
Oh, yeah.
actor who like we want to get this dress in somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow, and they fit perfect. Can we switch days? Can we make it work for this? Because we want to get them on screen.
Yeah.
It's fun little like gems and Easter eggs.
Yeah, because like when we were renting pieces for that, like I'm looking at color palette and stuff.
Yeah.
And like what works with the principal world to like create the painting. And if I don't have to alter a rental thing, woo, that's back to the technical thing. I'm like, I don't need to alter it because with rental, if I'm altering it down, I got to clean it and alter it back before I send it back. Yeah. So I'm not just getting stuff ready for camera. I'm looking at the downhill side of it too.
Well, I think it's important too for the audience to know that, like, even on our casting aspects, that there's so many details that go into the choosing of casting people because it's stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's
I tell actors all the time that sometimes it's not always the performance that you give, right? And I'm talking about from an auditioning standpoint, right? Whether they're going to get a job or if they don't. It's not always from the auditioning standpoint. It could be, hey, this person looks too big next to our lead. You know, this
Heights
person,
that
the
they
height,
levels,
weight, all of those things.
Age,
you know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You know, so there's so many other aspects, and it could be size as well. You know, that's going to determine if a person gets a job or not. So all the stars have to really align.
Riffing on that, my favorite podcaster, Heather McDonald of Juicy Scoop. She's a former actress and comedian, and she gave a really great example. She's like, when you're auditioning, like in person or whatever, they're like, casting wants it to be you.
Yes.
Like they want you to be like the holy grail.
Yeah.
So like that's helped me even just interviewing for what I do. I'm like, they want it to be me.
Yes.
Like maybe it's not a right fit, but so it's just like be yourself and like put your best foot forward.
We are always,
Great tip for
always trying to, we're rooting for you.
Yeah,
We're always rooting for you. You know, it doesn't do anything for us.
Yeah.
Like we don't. You know what I mean? Like we want to make sure that you're in the movie and a part of this storytelling. With that, what if we did have a chance of casting the people that we want to? So let's do a quick little recast while we're here.
Yeah, you're pretty good with wardrobe, but let's see how you are with
Casting.
casting.
So I'm professionally Keith Costumes, and my joke is I can always be Keith Casting. if
Oh,
things-
Perfect. So let's put it to a
for
test.
right now, you are Keith Casting.
So welcome to it. What are we doing this week, Jordan?
Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
Yes.
Take it back and try again.
You
What are we
almost
doing this
forgot
week,
the
Jordan?
Titans.
For all of your insurance needs, make sure you contact Craig Willoughby over at Willoughby Insurance, 716-885-8100. Make sure you ask for Craig and tell him Casting Buffalo sent you for special rates. My boy Willoughby will when nobody will.
Look, if you work in film, you know how brutal the hours can be. Long days, unpredictable schedules. There's barely enough time to eat healthy for yourself, let alone work out before or after set. Staying in shape almost feels impossible. That's exactly why Ascend Fitness remote coaching exists. Whether you're on set or just juggling a busy life, this isn't a generic program. It's 100% customized to you. Your schedule, your goals, your equipment, and even how you feel day to day. You'll get a fully personalized plan, expert coaching, and real accountability so you always know exactly what to do, no matter how crazy life gets. And right now, they're offering an exclusive deal. Sign up for 1 month and get the second month free, but only for the first 10 people. Spots will go fast. Go to trainascend.com and book your free coaching call before they're gone.
Looking for an unforgettable dining experience in Buffalo? Head to Daniela Restaurant, where every bite feels like home. Whether you're craving classic Italian favorites or exploring something new, Daniela's menu has something for everyone, from handcrafted pastas made with love and the finest ingredients. And it's not just about the food. Daniela's warm, welcoming atmosphere is perfect for a date night, family dinner, or special celebration. Plus, with a carefully curated wine list, the perfect pairing is just a sip away. So why wait? Head over to Daniela today. Come for the food. Stay for the experience.
Do you love horror movies? Here on Getting Scarried Away, we sit down to talk about what we love about the genre, shout out fellow horror creators, and spill buckets of useless horror knowledge for your next trivia night. Join me, Ricky Needham, and my co-host, Rhiannon Needham, as we dive headfirst into your favorite horror movies. Subscribe today anywhere you get your podcasts.
So what are we doing this week, Jordan?
Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Yeah, this was
Very fitting.
Very fitting. You know, trying to do something football oriented to get into it.
I would have gone with Little Giants.
That would have been funny.
They gotta choose all these kids.
I threw out the replacements.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Right,
one, too.
Keanu Reeves, that didn't make it. I think also, what was the Burt Reynolds movie?
The Longest
The
Yard.
Longest Yard.
The
Yeah,
Longest
yeah,
Yard,
we could have
yeah.
did that one too.
But that one's already been remade.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I like
okay.
the Rick Moranis idea.
You know?
Love
What?
Rick.
But how can you recast Rick Moranis?
All the
Okay,
kids,
so
too.
remember the Titans. We're doing our four. We're gonna do 4 characters here.
Okay.
All right. So we have Coach Boone, which was Denzel Washington.
Yeah, yep.
We have
Coach Bill Yost.
yes,
Bill
who
Yost.
was
Patton.
Will Patton,
Right.
and who else do we have?
I don't know how to say it. Jerry Bartier?
No,
Bertier?
Bertier.
Bertier. Okay.
Bertier.
I thought it
It's
was more
very
French than it
American.
was.
It's just
Yeah,
Bertier.
Bertier would be the French
Yeah,
pronunciation.
Who
well,
is
you know.
Ryan Hurst? Did he? I think he played.
Yes, Ryan Hurst played
And then Julius, who was played by
Ryan Gosling.
no.
Wait.
Oh, no.
No.
That's your recast?
I thought we were talking.
Spoiler.
I
Ryan
thought.
Gosling.
I,
Bennett.
Ryan's in
I
there.
think
No,
you
no,
said
no.
it's Wood Harris.
yeah, I thought. No, I
I
was.
said right. Yeah, what?
I was prepared for Bosley. I thought you were recasting Bosley.
No.
No.
Okay, that one I'm gonna have
But
to.
Harris, hilarious.
Who is it? Who are we? Which character?
Wood
Julius.
Yeah.
Julius. So played by Wood Harris. All right. So what we do is we usually go roll round by round, and kind of go from there. So
Cool.
hey, let's start with the Julius character.
Yeah. All right. So Julius character, that's played by Wood Harris. For me, now here's the thing. When I thought about how Wood Harris played that role, Wood Harris during that time was like in his 30s.
He was.
Right?
Yep.
So you also have to be someone that's like older, but that can look younger. You know, or just because you're playing high school.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Damson Idris.
Ooh.
That's who I'm gonna go with for that role. Just I think he's like the new thing. He has a very young look. That's Damson Idris for that role.
Very nice. Keith, casting. Do you have one yet?
I do.
Okay.
I'm consulting my notes. So for Wood Harris, Wood Harris played Julius.
Yes,
so
correct. So for
Julius,
Julius.
Shamik Moore. Is he the right age? Yeah, I think he could do it.
I mean, like.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
I said Shamik. Let me just see here. Hold on.
So just like.
See, these are the technicalities of
said.
casting.
Yes.
These, like
Yeah.
they play the age. Are
Can they
the
play?
right
And that's
age?
what I was gonna say. Can they play
Yeah.
the age? Right. And that's where I kind of went back and forth too.
Yeah.
It was like, do I cast older that can play younger?
Right. Because like I'm saying too, it's like those little things can pull you out of the story.
Yeah.
If they're like, I just don't.
Or
believe
do they
it. I
just
just don't believe
don't
it.
fit?
Yeah.
Or I mean,
This guy's good though.
Yeah.
you
he's
look
good.
at the original.
Yeah, for sure.
Remember the Titans, and then legit, like you said, you look at Wood Harris, you look at Ryan Hurst,
Yeah.
and they look
yeah.
older, but yet for the '90s, or for like 2000s, it fit.
Kind of fit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It fit.
For sure.
No, I like that. I like that choice too. I went with actually I went more towards hitting what the age should be, but he's a little bit older, and I went with Mason Gooding,
Okay.
which is Cuba Gooding
Okay,
Jr.'s
yeah.
son. The only thing that kind of stopped me, which I thought was interesting, the more I watched it, I rewatched it recently just to make prepared for this.
Yeah.
But like how much that time period reflected their casting too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Wood Harris.
He was. Wood
He's a good
Harris,
age too.
you saved his facial hair off. He seemed someone that was in that era. He looked like a
Oh,
guy
for
from
sure.
the 1960s.
But also, like, he is very dark skinned.
Oh yeah,
Too.
Yeah, yeah.
And, but that plays within that
character,
story.
with the character.
Because
He
everything
couldn't
is.
be a light
just-
skinned person, right?
Exactly.
Right, absolutely.
Which
Had to
that's the only thing that here is, Mason is lighter skinned.
Okay.
But I
Like
think
that.
his acting ability would be able to give that heart that Julius is and
I
that
like it.
relationship that he gives.
I like it. I like it.
Harry, you got
Cool.
one?
What you got?
This was last minute because I dropped
Do
the ball
it.
on that one.
I thought it was Ryan Gosling.
I might say, I don't know, Daniel Kaluuya.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
no,
you
I
can
thought about
get
him.
out.
too.
Maybe a
course.
little older, but
He's
know.
definitely the skin tone, the dark that helps for the story.
Yeah,
100%.
and he's
He's good.
he embodies the like when I think of like what an athlete has, especially somebody at that level, he's got the like seriousness kind of. You know what I mean?
Especially the beginning character of Julius too.
Yeah.
He's very, very serious and then like warms up, just like how Ryan Hurst does. So with that, let's go to.
Well, I got.
Oh, you got one. That's right.
John Boyega. That's my.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
All
yeah.
right.
He's
Okay.
He's tough. I like him for sure.
Athlete.
Yeah.
Right. Got the build.
Absolutely, 100%. I'd cast that.
Do you want to jump to one of the coaches?
No.
Or just
I'm,
go in
I'm waiting
reverse?
on them. Yeah,
Wow,
let's go in
these are
order
the
here.
big one.
So,
Yeah, there's the big ones. Let's wait on them.
Jerry Bartier.
Bertier.
Bertier. Okay.
American. All right, is it on me?
Yeah, go for it.
So I think that that was a tough one for me.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I went with.
This was a really tough one because again, it was the age thing too.
I went with Tom Holland.
I
Okay.
did too.
Yeah,
There you
Tom
go.
Holland.
You always have
All
a
right,
connection.
look at that.
All right.
Boom.
Well, there's
Yeah.
also. What was your thought process with that?
I just think that, you know, his look, I think he has the athleticism, you know what I'm saying, to be able to do that role. Yeah, and right now he has that look. He looks younger, you know? He looks like he could play in his teens.
I riffed on, as you know, my favorite movie is A League of Their Own, and on that movie they couldn't afford to double everyone.
Yeah.
So when they were testing people, they were looking at people that had dance experience.
Oh, cool.
Because they can look at it as choreography.
Oh, that's
And
smart.
he's like one of those.
Cool.
I like that a lot. I went. I looked at it and said, "Who can play a linebacker?"
Oh, yeah.
So I went with Jacob Elordi.
Well, he's tall.
He's 6'5". He is definitely a linebacker. He became popular off of the Kissing Booth movies on Netflix, and now he's actually playing Frankenstein's monster in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Oh, wow.
Coming out on Netflix. But he had very handsome, charm to him. And I think him mixed with Mason could be a very good, especially when they become best friends.
Right.
And that you don't expect someone like Jacob, who is very built and very healthy, to then get his world taken away when there's a car crash.
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that.
like in the movie. So
I'm also in the MCU on this one with Chris Hemsworth.
okay,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
like
good
it.
one.
Yeah.
I
Strong
like it.
dude.
That's a good one.
he fits perfect.
Yeah.
You know, so part of me was like, if
He's
I
in
did,
shape.
I was gonna say I thought of Channing Tatum too at
Okay.
first.
Right,
It was like
yeah.
he plays that all American, and I think even though he's not American, Chris Hemsworth does have that all American attitude for sure.
Excellent.
Harry, what do you got?
I went a little out of the park with this one. I thought of, I don't know if you've seen White Lotus, but
Yes.
I went with Lucas Gage
Okay,
because he's not, his stature isn't like petite. He's got,
He's like medium. middle
yeah,
of the road,
he's
yeah.
got what could be like maybe a football player
he's
body.
got a good look.
And yeah, I think in contrast with who I picked for the other role,
Julius.
that would work.
Okay, very good. All right, let's get into these coaches.
Wait.
I also had Tom Holland.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right. Well, do you want to go straight to?
No, say
Okay. All right. So, Coach Bill Yost
Bill Yost, Will
was
Patton.
Will Patton.
I love
Yeah.
Will Patton.
This was tough for me too.
Yeah.
Only because I think he's older now, but I would go with Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
You know, I think he could fit that.
You always choose the people who've passed away.
I was saying, isn't he
No, I
dead?
do that,
Sorry.
yeah.
You can't go with
I was
that.
in it.
Okay.
No, but in
I forgot
theory,
he died.
I know
But
it's sad.
I forgot.
But in theory,
You could go with another Bill,
Yeah.
Bill
Pullman, he
Yeah.
would work too.
Okay. Okay.
But no, but Bill Paxton is a good call because he definitely gives that Yost
Yeah.
feel as a coach too. I mean, it's just
I forgot he died.
he's a legend too.
Wow. Yeah.
Keith.
Matt Damon.
Okay,
Ooh,
good call.
Okay, I like that.
Good call. Got some star power in there too.
Yeah. I also was thinking James Marsden.
I like that one too.
Different looks though.
You know what? I got to take mine back because I need another shot. I want to go with Mark
Taking a
Wahlberg.
mulligan here?
Okay,
That's a good
I'm
one.
going Mark
Okay.
Wahlberg.
I like the mark.
Yeah,
A Marky Mark Mulligan.
I like that.
I'm going for grit with Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin?
Brolin.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Okay,
Brolin.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
I like it
Nice.
too. Yeah, I always thought about him as well.
He's got a coach vibe.
Yeah.
Harry, what do you got?
All right. I went with. So the guy who played Yost originally was
Will
Will
Patton.
Patton. So I'm going to go from one Bill to another Bill and say Bill Fichtner.
Oh,
Hey.
Great choice,
yeah, like it. I
Little hometown.
It's a great
little
choice, too.
hometown love
Well,
there.
I'm going hometown too, and going Kyle Chandler.
Oh.
Okay.
Also, he's
Friday
got
Night
got
Lights.
coach
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
Friday
coach
Night Lights.
vibes there. But the more Will Patton just had this great sense of like camaraderie with his team, and I feel like Kyle Chandler definitely can give off that feel. So that's my Yost.
I like it.
All right, we got the big gun. now.
Coach Herman. Boom.
Made famous by Denzel Washington.
Oh, dude, I bet you're taking mine. Go ahead.
Do you want me to go first? No, you go. You go. Go for
All
it.
right.
Go for
So, this is a black actor. I've been following this guy's career for a long time. This guy's not like an A-list that I'm about to give, right?
Let's see if we're gonna align
But
here.
he's a super strong actor. I've seen him on Broadway. As a matter of fact, he was on Broadway with Stephen McKinley Henderson, and so I'm gonna go with this guy. He was opposite Denzel in Fences. Russell Hornsby.
Oh, that's a great pick. It's not mine.
Okay, cool. I'm just saying, a lot of people know him. So he was opposite Denzel. He played Denzel's son in Fences.
did, yes.
But this guy's amazing. I've seen him on Broadway. He'd be my top pick.
I went Sterling Brown.
Oh, so did I.
Wow, that's good.
That was mine too.
That's good.
Jinx.
That's good.
Sterling. I mean,
Yep.
we know Sterling.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
we
I
worked
was
with
gonna
him on
say.
Marshall.
Somebody
And we worked with him on Marshall, and he was phenomenal to work with and watching that craft in person.
Oh yeah. He
and-
would eat this roll up.
Yeah,
Oh, he would
that
eat
guy's
it
good.
up.
Yeah,
He would
he's
eat it
good. He's
So Sterling's definitely mine. You align
Mine
with
too,
that?
right
Yeah, I
here,
was going to say.
Sterling.
wow, you said it? Oh, you
Yeah,
had it.
I was gonna point
yeah.
to the poster.
The poster.
and say the man whose name is on the
That
poster
guy
right
is,
behind you.
he's a serious actor.
He's so good.
Serious, yeah.
All right, Keith.
I had two, and I like both of them. Coleman Domingo
Yep.
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 Definitely.
and
Great.
Blair Underwood.
Woo, that's a good one. Blair Underwood could do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He's
I
a
like
great
it.
guy too.
Awesome.
I'm channeling a not so serious. Well, it's serious, but my thoughts from Sonic 3. Idris Elba.
Oh,
whose
yeah.
name I may
Yeah.
be
Oh,
saying
yeah.
wrong too.
Yeah.
That's obvious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
If
that's great.
We went for
That's-
some deep cuts over here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we needed to.
Other Sonic fact, I thought that Knuckles was played by Peter Dinklage, and then I was really surprised when it wasn't, and it was Idris Elba. For some reason, I was hearing the voice and thought that's who it was.
Does
So
it have
wrong.
anything to do with how big you think?
Maybe. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. So the one other person that I had in mind too to play Boone was actually Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
He crossed my
Oh,
mind.
that
Yeah,
would
that'd
be
be a
good
good one,
too.
too.
He crossed
that
my
would
mind
be good
too.
Yeah.
too.
Because she would eat that up too.
Yeah.
Jamie would
You
make
know?
it funny, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'd be laughing at Jamie would make
Yeah.
it funny.
There'd be too much humor injected.
Keith, this was awesome to have you.
Likewise,
man.
thank you.
Thank you so much
One
for
of our
coming
favorite
on.
guests. Absolutely.
No, absolutely. I mean, we haven't had much, but
We're on to something.
but
here.
you've made top tier here, and it was fantastic having you here. I hope we have you on again.
Yeah.
We are so excited to work with you again, and hopefully more and more into the future. The last thing I want to do before we go is you still have to name the lemur.
Hey.
I'm like into like, so I love people like Doris Day, like the
yeah.
initials match.
Alliteration.
Alliteration.
Yeah.
It's the
I
best.
like Lilu the lemur.
Wow.
Oh,
Accepted.
okay.
Accepted.
It's on you,
Jordan,
Jordan.
I was going to say,
Is that
Jordan,
an
that may
accept?
have to stick, man.
Accepted.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
There will be a plaque next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Podcasting Buffalo. I'm Kyle Mecca.
I'm Peter Johnson.
And I'm Harry Lipsitz.
That's a wrap.
I love you.